What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this quick conversation on my unpopular opinion on Kyle Richards. So I've been watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills ever since it first began. So I have seen Kyle Richards and her progression on the show from day one until now. And recently I've noticed that throughout the entire years that I've been watching this show, I've never really heard of any real dirt on Kyle Richards. It always seems to be like she was the one that would be the one that other cast members would talk to about their issues. She would be the one that would be the shoulder to lean on when they were going through their problems. Whatever the situation was, we never really got any real dirt or any real controversy with Kyle, her husband, or her children, her immediate nuclear family. Everybody else had to answer to cheating spouses, lying spouses, had to answer to criminal charges, lawsuits, all kinds of mess everybody else was involved in. Poor Lisa Vanderpump got pulled into Puppygate. All of these issues that everybody else went through, but Kyle Richards, it seems like she herself and her immediate family got away scot-free every single season without any major controversy. So not only were her castmates involved in controversy, but she brought her sisters on the show. Well, now, when I say brought, I use that term loosely because I don't know if Kim or Kathy, were just beating down the doors of Bravo, demanding to be put on the show, or if Kyle had encouraged them to join the cast of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Now, let's start off with Kim Richards. Kim Richards was on the show for about 4 or 5 seasons or so, something around there. And I never felt like Kim was a good fit for reality TV because of her prior addiction issues and her alcoholism. I always felt like she was a little bit too fragile for a show like this, where people are constantly talking about each other, where people are constantly attacking one another, they're hitting below the belt, they're making up lies about one another. And it seems like her sobriety was not protected and it was not seen as a priority. The things that were happening on this show could have driven anybody, whether they had an addiction or not, could have driven anybody to, other vices to deal with the stress of being on the show. So I always was kind of iffy about Kim being on the show. I mean, I did enjoy watching her on the show. I liked her on the show, but I always wondered if it was like the best thing for her to do. And of course, then, you introduce Lisa Rinna into the mix, and then Lisa Rinna completely was not good for Kim Richards, and soon after that Kim left the show. But she comes on the show as Kyle's sister, and we know all about her business. We know about the fact that she was a struggling addict. Now, my understanding is, rumor has it, that what started the rift between Kyle and Kathy was the fact that Kyle had accidentally exposed Kim's addiction issues or alcoholism on the show, because evidently it was not supposed to be part of Kim's storyline, her struggles with addiction, but it was accidentally exposed, I think, by Kyle, that her sister was suffering with, these issues. And Kathy did not like that. And so that's one of the earlier things that began the rift between Kathy and Kyle. So soon after that, I'm going to insert here, not a picture or anything, I'm going to talk about real quick Lisa Vanderpump and Kyle. Now, Lisa Vanderpump was like the nucleus of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She was the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And I don't know if Kyle had struggled with the fact that she was playing second fiddle to Lisa Vanderpump, and maybe Kyle saw herself as, she should have been the star of the show. And I don't know how she felt, kind of being seen as, Lisa's LVP's little sister or LVP's little friend or whatever the situation was. But LVP was the show. This was her show. She was known for this show. So then Puppygate starts, and then Kyle and Lisa, they have it out. Next thing you know, Lisa's gone. And I wonder if Kyle had anything to do with Lisa exiting the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, so that now Kyle Richards can reign supreme as, the grand dame of Beverly Hills, if I might say so. So then soon after that, Kathy comes on. Now, when Kathy came on, first of all, we all had known, we all had heard about the troublesome relationship between Kyle and Kathy. Supposedly it started with, like I said before, Kyle exposing Kim's alcoholism. Then there was also this issue that when Mauricio and Kathy's husband, Rick Hilton, they all worked together at the same company called Hilton and Highland. I don't know in what capacity Mauricio worked, but he worked for Hilton and Highland. So then when he left Hilton and Highland, Kathy's husband's company, he started his own company, his own real estate agency called The Agency. And supposedly when this happened, when he separated himself from Hilton and Highland, this caused a bigger rift between the sisters. I don't know if it was because maybe there was some type of a competition between the two companies and the two husbands. I don't know what was going on. I don't know why that would have caused a problem between the sisters, because one sister's husband broke away and began doing his own thing, unless what he was doing was seen as competition to Rick Hilton's company. Then I can understand if there was, a rift between the sisters, or how Kyle and Kathy's relationship soured even more if their husbands were competing against one another, right? So they're struggling with their relationship, Kathy and Kyle. They're going through their thing. Everybody knows that they're not getting along. It's very, very obvious. Every reunion, Kyle is crying about her sister. So evidently they patch things up. They reconcile, everything is good again, and now here we have Kathy introduced to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Her first season there, she became a fan favorite. Everybody adored her. And I wonder, and then the rumor was that Kyle did not like the fact that Kathy became a fan favorite, that her star was rising, so to speak. And I wonder if Kyle began to feel some type of jealousy about that. And I wonder if her jealousy towards her sisters stems from childhood, because when she was a child actor and Kim was a child actor, it appears like Kim was probably more successful as the child actor compared to Kyle. And then in their adult years, Kathy marries into the Hilton family. Her daughters also become famous. Everybody knows Nikki and Paris Hilton. And I have no idea. I couldn't even name you other than Portia. And Farrah. I don't even know the other daughters' names. So I wonder if in their adult years, maybe Kyle was feeling some type of resentment or some type of jealousy or some type of competition against Kathy because she was the wealthier sister, the more well-known sister, and all she had was this little rinky-dink little reality TV show. So I'm wondering if maybe Kyle felt some type of competitiveness with her sisters and always felt the need to outshine them, to try to be better than them. She was the baby sister, the youngest of them all, maybe seen as the least successful or whatever. I don't know. I'm just speculating, right? Trying to understand why she would treat her sisters the way she treats them in their adult years. So she brings Kathy on her show because, like I said, I don't think that Kathy was begging and pleading Andy Cohen to come on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I think that somehow or another, Kyle convinced her sister to come on the show. She comes on the show, her first season there, fan favorite, everybody adores her. Maybe Kyle is beginning to feel some kind of way about that. Okay, once again, my sister has to outshine me. So then she brings her sister back for season 2, encourages Kathy to come back for season 2, her second season on the show, and maybe Kyle decides in her mind to knock her down a few notches. Now, Kathy has been saying lately that she believes all of this has been a takedown by Lisa Rinna. Now, why Lisa Rinna would want to take down Kathy Hilton is beyond me, but I can see why Lisa Rinna would want to take down Kathy Hilton if someone else is in cahoots with Lisa Rinna or encouraging Lisa Rinna to take down Kathy Hilton. So maybe Kyle decides to have her sister come back again and kind of stick it to America. It's oh, you think that, she's all that? You think that she's this rising star? You love and you adore her? Well, let me show you something. So she comes on for the second season, and all of a sudden, things are kind of weird. By the way, I do believe that Kyle is, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier in my video. I do believe that Kyle is a Bravo darling. I think that she's an Andy Cohen favorite. I think that she gets away with a whole lot more than the other Real Housewives, either on this cast or any other cast. Okay. So she brings her sister on the second time around. And I feel like when Kathy came back for her second season, her image kind of shifted a little bit. Kathy was presented like she was this older woman whose mind really wasn't there. You know, she's saying some very oddball things because of the first season, she kind of was like a renegade. You know, she kind of like she wasn't what we expected. You know, we knew that she was extremely wealthy, but she wasn't hoity-toity kind of wealthy. She wasn't like nose in the air kind of wealthy. She was like, I'm down for the people. I'm one of y'all. I'm down to earth. Like, she seemed like somebody who was really cool, really funny, you know, like your really funny, quirky aunt, you know, who's got a whole bunch of money, but we can still laugh with her and joke with her. And, you know, she's like still one of us, right? That's how she kind of came across. She was quirky. She was unusual. She was interesting. And she was very lovable. Now, the second time that she comes on, it's like they're trying to make her look like she's not altogether there mentally. Like she's showing up places in her slippers and her pajamas. Kyle had to point out that, oh, you're at the airport in your pajamas and your slippers. The way that she kept on pushing this whole tequila thing, like in the most inopportune moments, you know, she'll pull out this bottle of tequila, promoting her tequila, her family's tequila. All of these things were happening, and it was kind of making, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but it was kind of like they're making her look like someone who wasn't all together there mentally or something. So then we have this issue in the Aspen bar. Supposedly, she had a moment in the bar. She got upset because it wouldn't play Michael Jackson music. She was creating a scene. I think there were accounts from other people at the bar who were not part of Bravo or the show, like the staff or Patreons who were there. Patrons, not Patreons. Patrons who were also there. They also gave their account of what they saw, of how Kathy was acting, so on and so forth, right? So it was painted like, you know, she was having this erratic moment. She was getting upset over Michael Jackson music. Saying strange things. Everybody was saying a lot of things about Kathy that night, but nobody was really saying, like, did she have too much to drink? Was that what it was? It was like she was having like a psychotic break, but maybe she just had a little bit too much to drink. So then supposedly Kathy was begging her sister Kyle to take her home or to go home with her, to go back to Kyle's vacation home. Kyle refused. Now, isn't it interesting that all of a sudden it is Rinna who volunteers to take Kathy home? It makes me wonder if maybe Kyle and Rinna had a conversation that Rinna would be the one to take Kathy home. Kathy is already probably not, you know, coherent. You know, she's in a bar having a good time, you know, probably partaking in the libations. And so now all of a sudden Rinna is the one that is going to be riding home with her. And I just wonder, I'm just asking questions. That's all I'm doing. Just asking questions. Was Rinna asking Kathy, knowing that Kathy was probably, you know, in her happy place, asking Kathy loaded questions to get a reaction out of her? And then for her to like start spewing all this stuff about how she's going to destroy Kyle, saying all these things about the castmates, because it was just strange that all of a sudden, you know, Kathy's in this van and she's, you know, addressing these people like one by one by one. She's going to take Kyle down. Dorit is ditzy, or whatever you said about Dorit. So, you know, saying all these negative things about everybody on the show. It almost, to me, seems like somebody was specifically asking her, well, what do you think about Dorit? What are your thoughts on Crystal? What do you think about Sutton? You know what I'm saying? And so she's giving her opinion. And now Rinna is going to take this information. Oh, my God. And Kathy said this. And Kathy said that. Blah, blah. So then they get to the home, and Rinna, I believe when they got to the home, I think this is where Rinna begins to embellish the story about Kathy throwing things and, you know, jumping up and down on her sunglasses. Rinna had to go hide because she was so scared. Whatever, Rinna. That's where I think the embellishment began. I think that's where people began to get really upset with Rinna because it just doesn't seem plausible. But anyways, so Kathy believes this was like a big takedown, right? It could have been a takedown, but I think that, in my personal opinion, I would not be surprised if someone were to tell me, hey, I think maybe her sister was a part of this takedown because of the fact that, Kathy was the fan favorite. Kyle, you might be Bravo's darling, but Kathy was the people's darling. And maybe, Kyle didn't really care for that. So she wanted to bring her back for season 2 or her second season on the show and knock her sister down a couple of notches and let her know what's what and who's who and who's really running the show over here. So, because I don't understand why, Rinna knows how to. Anyways, let me leave that alone. Okay, so then we have Kyle who's telling Rinna, don't talk about my sister. Don't talk about that night because it's going to make my sister mad at me. And I always wondered, why would that make Kathy mad at you if it was the things that were coming out of Kathy's own mouth that Rinna wanted to repeat? If anything, wouldn't Kathy be the one begging Rinna to shut up so that Kyle doesn't get mad at her? So I've never understood that at all because supposedly Kathy was talking about Kyle. Rinna was going to expose that, or she did expose it. Kyle is begging Rinna to shut up about it because she doesn't want her and her sister to be estranged again. Why would you and your sister be estranged again if Rinna is repeating the things that your sister said? Unless you're saying that you're going to stop fooling with your sister. But she makes it seem like Kathy is going to no longer deal with her, no longer talk to her if Rinna repeats all of this stuff. But why would that happen when it was Kathy that was saying these things? Whatever the situation is, I don't get it. If it doesn't make sense, it must not be true. So I'm thinking that Kyle probably harbors some type of jealousy or something, or competitiveness towards her sister. And because I realize that now we're seeing Kathy as, someone who doesn't know how to hold her liquor. She's erratic. She's causing a scene. She's acting like some crazy drunk lady out there in Aspen. She's spewing all of these hateful things about people on the show, about her own sister. How convenient. Kim was on the show, exposed as a recovering addict, as a struggling addict, a single mom, can't let go of her children because she was like a big mama. She was a mama bear, always crying about her children growing up and leaving her. All these things that her sisters were exposed for, but Kyle herself, her reputation, her family's reputation, like her husband and her children, always remains intact. We have Erica Jane dealing with all these legal issues, husband facing possible jail time, just all kinds of craziness going on. Lisa Rinna, people were accusing her of pimping out her daughter to Scott Disick. Her daughter was like, barely out of her teens. All of a sudden she's dating 30 something, damn near 40 something Scott Disick. And we know all the other issues with Lisa Rinna. Sutton coming off as possibly racist, definitely insensitive when Kyle was telling her about Dorit's break-in. We have Dorit, people accusing her of lying of this home invasion. She's very, very materialistic. She's having all these legal issues, being sued by people in her own company. Her and her husband are having financial issues. We have Garcelle. Now she's got this issues with her son cheating on his wife with somebody at SUR. Everybody's involved in some type of drama, some type of controversy, except for Kyle. Kyle seems like the kind of person. Now, these other women, yeah, they're going to have controversy regardless. But your own sisters, Kyle? And instead of you being there to protect your sister's reputation, you bring your sisters on this show and both of them are exposed with issues, problems, controversy. Moving on. So Kathy had said, from these articles that I've been reading online, Kathy had said, page 6, Screen Rant, and something else. Kathy had said that she would not return to Real Housewives of Beverly Hills unless Erica and Lisa were fired. So they asked Kyle what she thought of that. Instead of Kyle standing up for her sister and saying, yeah, I agree. I want my sister to come back if she wants to come back. And yeah, those two got to go. Instead of Kyle saying that, Kyle instead says, I have nothing to say, or I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Why not, Kyle? That's your sister. You already got dragged for not putting Lisa Rinna in her place when she said that Kathy had a black heart. Every time that you need to show up for your sister, you don't. But then you cry to Lisa Rinna, oh, stop talking about that night because it's going to affect me. It's affecting me. It's not affecting your sister. Lisa Rinna talking about that night is not going to affect your sister's reputation. You're saying it's going to affect you. Supposedly, Kyle and Erica Jane had a conversation, a private conversation, where Kyle had said to Erica Jane, oh, I'm so glad that Kathy had this meltdown because it finally exposes to the world what I've been having to deal with all these years. Like, she was happy that Kathy had this meltdown so that the whole world can see that, you know, Kathy's not squeaky clean, that Kathy's not this perfect image of a sister or of a woman or whatever. You know, she's gonna, the world is gonna see her for who she is, for who she really is. The world is gonna see what she herself, Kyle, has been having to deal with all these years. And supposedly when she told Erica this, it was supposed to be a private, confidential conversation. And Erica Jane ended up, repeating everything that Kyle said. And supposedly Kyle was upset about that. Anywho, those are just my unpopular opinions on Kyle Richards. I see her as someone who, at any cost, she knows how to play the game. She knows how to network. She knows how to play the entertainment game, the television game, or whatever, because she's got Bravo in her back pocket. She's got Andy Cohen in her other back pocket. So she's protected. Okay, let's protect Kyle at all costs. That's what Bravo is saying. For whatever reason, they like Kyle. They give her what she wants. She's protected. But she's willing to, because she doesn't have any dirt herself, but she's going to make sure that other people's dirt is going to benefit her. And it's going to secure her spot on Bravo. That's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I have no problem coming right back over here and saying that I was wrong. Either way, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, don't forget to rate the video. And if you like this content, go ahead and subscribe. And I'll talk to you later.